Go.
Streaming from South Africa to the world. This is the Stonks Go Moon Podcast. What just happened? We break it down so you don't have to.
Welcome everyone to the Stonks Go Moon Podcast, crypto and retirement. Two words you probably didn't expect to hear in the same sentence a few years ago, but that's exactly where the industry is headed. While most people are still trying to figure out how to send a Bitcoin transaction, today's guest is building tech that lets you stack crypto tax-free inside your retirement account. He's the guy making it all work behind the scenes. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today, Max Pace, CTO of BlockTrustIRA. Welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me, Rocco.
Awesome background. Go and check it out on YouTube. Definitely, I thought it was some sort of filter or I don't know, AI maybe, but it's super awesome. Off air, I said with a name like Max Pace, I was assuming movie star, but in the land of crypto, I guess movie stars are also made, right? And what you guys are doing and sort of trying to, how do I put this, make pension savings attractive, because no one likes to sort of put money away for it's like whatever. And now you're putting crypto in. How does that all work?
Yeah. So the way that we're doing it, I think what's special about what we do at BlockTrustIRA is we're combining the high growth potential of what are crypto assets and kind of what the world is getting familiar with the traditional structures of a self-directed IRA. So originally in the IRA world, in the retirement world, you only were limited to be able to invest in a few asset classes, right? And using a self-directed IRA vehicle, you can invest in alternative assets, things like real estate and now things like crypto. And what we're doing with BlockTrust is we're trying to allow the everyday American to invest in these assets in their IRAs.
What changed, or what changed, and when did that change? When did that become an option?
Yeah, so I would say the crypto IRA space, it's relatively underserved at the moment, but it's been around for probably the last 5 years. The issue with it is that the first couple of companies that started to offer this, their model is that they charge high fees. So what they do is they charge very high transaction fees, and they don't allow, or they don't provide the tools to actually succeed. So their goal is, hey, come in the door, we'll help you buy whatever you want. We're going to charge you a high fee on it, and we're not going to care how you perform, right?
Okay.
The difference with what we're doing essentially is we're saying, hey, we're going to charge you the trading fees at cost. We're not going to charge you on the trades, but we're going to actually help you manage these assets to make sure that you actually succeed in investing in the assets because of the amount of risk on the table with something like crypto, right?
Yeah, because I was about to say having it as part of your retirement is a very bold assumption that it's still going to be around by then.
Right. So the first decision you're making with us is, do I want to participate in this growing ecosystem, this crypto, right? So I will say we're not for, someone who doesn't want to touch crypto altogether. This is still very much, how do I get cryptocurrency exposure? The difference, like what you're saying, is that there's a lot of risk clearly in investing in crypto at all, right? So to do so with retirement, you need an extra level of comfort and security, right? And that's kind of what the layer is that we're trying to provide, is that we provide managed strategies, meaning that we're actually helping you manage the risk, the downside risk of these assets. And if you look at the course of Bitcoin's history over the past 15%, it's had years down 60, 70, 80%, right? So that's not investable for a retirement account, right?
No.
You'd be down 70 for your retirement account, right? So the idea is that we need to manage that, right?
Yeah.
To be able to still provide you that exciting upside potential, but take a lot of that downside risk off the table so that it's palatable for an investor in their retirement account.
Okay, so my logical next question would be, as I can hear someone out there, okay, how do I do that? Someone's going to, on the podcast listening now, is going to go, okay, cool, how do I do that? Or how do you guys do that?
Yeah, so are we talking about setting up the IRA? Or are we talking about actually the trading portion?
Let's do both.
Okay. So setting up the IRA is pretty simple. The self-directed component is essentially saying, hey, we're going to create an IRA retirement account, and then we're going to self-direct it to whatever asset class you wish, right? So we set up a special account where people come in and they say, hey, I've got a Fidelity, I've got an Empower account, right? They have the existing programs and plans from their existing employers, and they're able to roll that in with us to be able to invest in something like an alternative asset. On the trading side, the discussion becomes a lot more complex. So what the trading is, it's a data-driven model for managing risk that I've actually built since, with a team since September of 2017. So I've been researching there for almost 8 years now. And what it is it uses all the data you can imagine that affects Bitcoin. Let's focus on Bitcoin, for example.
Yes.
We're looking at price-based analysis. We're looking at technical analysis. We're looking at on-chain metrics. So what wallet addresses are interacting with what coins. We're looking at sentiment. So how many times is the word Bitcoin mentioned on Twitter today? How are people feeling about that? And we're looking at macroeconomic sentiment. So what is the tariff rate in China today? Is there a war in Israel, right? All these different macroeconomic consequences. And we're doing an aggregation layer where we're taking all these feeds in, and then we're saying, okay, based on our information, our research, what do we expect the next week of Bitcoin prices to look like based on this changing information? And then based on all that, we prescribe either a buy or a sell in the account, and we push it to all of our individual accounts. So what the user feels is they have an account that they'll see all of a sudden up to once an hour, maybe it's 3 a.m, and we detect risk. They're going to see a sell automatically in their account if they're subscribed to my strategy, right?
Okay.
It allows people to kind of sit back comfortably and say, hey, I've got someone at the wheel managing this account for me, right? But they're still able to follow along the whole way.
And that's regulated, right? That's not unregulated.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we're doing it is we're licensing our technology, right?
Okay.
What that means is that the important part is that the user is still in control of their funds the whole time, right?
Okay.
So as opposed to having them send us shares, their IRA account will still be in their name, right? So this is the way you should think about it. It's like, I have an IRA account, I have an account, right, with crypto in it.
Yeah.
But someone on the back end is helping me manage that, right?
Yeah.
So the cool part is that it's still in the client's control at all times. It's in your name, it's in your custody. You can look at it every day, you can log on, you can deposit whenever, you can withdraw whenever, right? There's complete control for the client, right? The difference is that they're subscribing to a strategy on the back end that provides trading insights, right?
Yeah.
So they can still access the power of what is traditionally like a hedge fund where most people can't access these things, but it's now in your pocket.
100% with you. How does AI play a role? Is there any artificial intelligence involved or not?
Yes. So there's AI involved in 2 stages of the process.
Oh, okay.
The first is doing natural language processing. So actually identifying emotions from articles. So imagine the Wall Street Journal, says today, the strategic reserve for Bitcoin has now been announced, right? That will be scored. The AI looks at that. There's a process called NLP that looks at that text and says, okay, that must be positive, right? Like US adoption, it'll put the key phrases together and it'll score the article, right? So it'll say this is from 0 to 100, maybe let's call it a 95 in terms of positivity. And it'll send that score to us, right? Okay. And we're trying to digest emotion from news articles, interviews, podcasts like this. And we're saying, what is the discussion? What is the discourse around the asset, right? Because as many people know, Bitcoin is a very speculative asset. It's all about how people are feeling it, is how they trade it, right? And that's what happens. So what we're doing is we're using AI to help determine emotions in the marketplace that will help inform our opinions of the price in the future. Right?
Okay, that's very
The second thing that we do is for some of our models, we have something called, we use neural networks. So we're saying to process all this information, we have thousands of data points in any given hour. What do these things all mean, right? So sometimes we have neural networks that will step in and say, give me an estimation of the price, right? Using all these different input features, right? So those are kind of the 2 ways that we would use AI traditionally to help solve that problem.
You talked a lot about the Bitcoin. Is there scope for other digital assets in the future, or is it predominantly Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin sort of the the main player here, or is there something else coming?
Yeah. So I think, I've gone back and forth over the 10 years involved personally in crypto. I go back and forth from, I think Bitcoin's the only thing that matters, to being reminded by the market that there's clearly a home for all these other assets. Now, I think where I stand today, I think that there will be many blockchains in the future that will be valuable, right? I think that Bitcoin evolves or is there to be a store of value. It'll serve as like a digital gold. And I think it's clearly the fastest growing and by far the most institutionally adopted, right? Which I think will continue. But I think there's other assets like Solana, for example, that are more focused on retail usage and decentralized applications, right? So to me, they represent two fundamentally different things. And I think that there'll be a world in which some of these projects exist together. Now, do I think that all of the thousands of meme tokens launched every day are going to make it? Absolutely not, right? Like, I think a lot of the garbage, so to speak, is going to be flushed system over time, right? But I do think that there's a world in which there are many chains that exist in the distant future.
Okay, but if someone isn't sure about if crypto is going to play a part or needs to play a part in their sort of pension portfolio or retirement plan, what can you tell them? What you think where it's headed? Just the significance of maybe,
Yeah. I mean, I think if you look factually at the returns of Bitcoin over the last 15 years.
Yeah, leave emotion. Just look at the facts.
I think the first thing you have to do is look at the data, right? We're a data shop here. And if you look at the information, what we're seeing is that Bitcoin has been the best performing asset perhaps of all time, and certainly of the last decade, right? And the reason for that is that people are recognizing the importance of hedging out of government risk, right? Government and all the central banks around the world are dealing with a similar issue of runaway money printing. They're manipulating the currency supply, which is in turn diminishing the power of the underlying value of the currency, right? The beauty of why Bitcoin was brought into the world in 2008, or what it was created off the backbone of understanding that all of these central banks, including the US, are going to have a massive problem on their hands over the next couple of decades, right? And that problem is this inability to control money supply, right? And what we're seeing is that Bitcoin is turning into this hard asset or the store of value where people are saying, you know what, I'm going to opt out of the financial system that has been doing me wrong, that I haven't been able to overcome because I'm subject to things like inflation and mismanagement by parties that are not myself. I'm getting the negative ramifications of bad management by other parties, right? So Bitcoin represents freedom money. It represents a democratized system where people can store their value, and their one Bitcoin, if you hold one Bitcoin, it will never be less than one Bitcoin, right? 21 million Bitcoin in total. And that one Bitcoin will represent the same fraction of the total supply always, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same. If you look at the dollar, right? If you look at the dollar, $1 in the 1960s, the equivalent of that now is probably $25, $30, right? And that's because of the compounding effect of inflation, right? And I think what people are waking up to, Rocco, is the idea that maybe there is a better way to store value and to transact in the future, right? Yeah. And all it takes is the public's acceptance to say, you know what, we actually want to make a change. We're going to, and that's what you're seeing on the chart. That's why you're seeing it making these massive strides from a price perspective. And all of a sudden, all these big institutions who originally said, we'll never touch this thing, all of a sudden do a 180 and say, this is the greatest thing ever, right?
Yeah. And even there was this big Moody's downgrade as well. Did Bitcoin a lot of favors. People was like, oh, for the first time in history, I might be mistaken, but was it the first time in history there was a large of a downgrade by a rating agency?
Yeah, it depends on the credit agency. Okay. But the reality is there's been skepticism over the creditworthiness of the U.S. government for a long time now, right?
Yeah.
And I think what's even more important than the downgrade is the companies are going to be very, very conservative with that downgrade. I think that actually means that there's more problems than they're willing to admit.
Okay, that's a very good point, especially under this administration. Seeing, I think they were gentle. I think you're 100% right. Fascinating and interesting stuff that you guys are doing. Max, thank you so much for joining me today. If the listeners want to go and connect with you and find out more about what it is that you guys do and how they can get involved, where can they connect with you?
Absolutely. So I would just go right to our website, BlockTrustIRA. You can either leave an email in our general inbox, or you can book a call with one of our representatives. Just to be clear, again, our kind of like value add is we're bringing strategies to the marketplace. So if you're someone looking to invest in cryptocurrency who is a bit frightened by either the wallet technology or, quite frankly, just wants a better investing experience, give us a call and we'd be happy to help you out. And we do it for retirement accounts, and we also do it for cash accounts. So even if you don't have an IRA or 401k, you can still participate with us.
It's like a fractionalized quant or a fractionalized hedge fund.
Exactly. So that it used to be a hedge fund. So the technology came from a hedge fund background.
Yeah, makes sense.
And through my partnership here with these guys, we just have to bring it to the average person.
Makes sense. We'll put all the links in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me today. And to our listeners, peace, love, and prosperity. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.
Yeah, I saw you wearing time like it don't tick, standing there like the fire ain't lit. Corner queen with a plastic grin, bottle sweating like original sin. Thoughts on loop like rental tape. My head said run, my feet said wait. You're a disco ghost with cigarette skin, and I swear I heard you think, let's begin. I got so hypnotized by the thought of something I never knew, that you were just a surprise. And now you're leaving with a ballyhoo, and the band plays on. The singer sang my song, and the truth gets gone, and the lights get strong. And I thought I could fly on the wings of something I never knew, and the night would not die, and the sun, she cried in the morning dew. And the band plays on, the singer sang my song, and the truth gets gone, and the lights get strong. My head gets loud with the sound of something I never knew, and now I'm lost in a crowd, in a world of people just like you. Peel me off the vinyl floor, I've been dancing with the exit door. Smoke in my lungs, glitch in my grin, heart got hacked by the shape you're in. Spin me like your second thought, static in my brain from the heat you brought. I ain't smooth, I ain't sane, but I bite like a storm through a window pane. Yeah! Velvet teeth in a velvet room, let's break this night like a cheap perfume. I came to blur, you came to bang, so say my name with no intent. And the band plays on, the singer sang my song, and the truth gets gone, and the lights get strong. And the band plays on, the singer sang my song, and the truth gets gone, and the lights get strong.